my top 3 tips for a better relationship. Now, I will add here, by no means am I a guru as far as these things are concerned. I'm still learning, I'm still evolving, as you know. But these 3 things really have helped to improve the quality of my relationship with my wife. Now, number 1, get yourself a dog. I joke, obviously. Although actually, having a dog, as we all know, in the house certainly helps to ease the negativity in the house. There's nothing like, if you're feeling a little bit low, the wet-nosed nudge of a flat coat retriever letting you know that he's there, wanting a little bit of love. Anyway, that aside, that is not one of my 3 tips. But the first one is, when I think in a relationship, the trickiest point in a adult relationship, when both are working, or if they're not, both are busy people, the trickiest point is sometimes the morning, but usually the evening. In other words, when you're both tired. So let's say you are the partner that is returning home from work. You're tired. You get out the car. Before you enter the house, do something that I call set it to seize it. What I mean by that is set your psychology to be in a state that you would want the other person to see you as, or rather, if you were that person in the house, the state that you would want to see your partner in when first meeting them at the doorstep. In other words, let's say, and quite often happens in relationships, you come home from work, your mind is somewhat selfish because you're tired and you're wanting to moan. And the first thing you want to do, because it's your partner, is as soon as you enter the threshold, is tell them about your tough day, is tell them about the issues that you had, how tired you're feeling. But imagine now if you are your partner, and that's the first thing that they witness. And let's say actually your partner's in a really positive state and she's really, or he is really excited to tell you something, and the first thing they witness is this. Well, obviously that's not going to go down too well, and neither are they likely to tell you their story. So that's what I mean by set it to seize it. And what it means is that you are no longer thinking with a selfish mind, you're thinking about your partner, and it doesn't mean that you can't discuss the things that you want to discuss about your tough day, but what it means is that you can do it whilst eating dinner. Let's say the children have gone to bed, if you're parents. Let's say you've got a glass of wine. And at that point, when both of you are in the right mind state, that is the perfect opportunity with which, if you need to moan, or if you need to tell them about your tough day. But quite often what happens by then is that you no longer feel the need to moan anyway, because you've already set your mind in the right state. The problems that you thought you had, that you wanted to moan about, have probably disappeared. Or if they haven't, you're thinking in a much more rational state anyway. So it's easier to have that conversation and tell them about that tough day. So that is tip number 1. You could either be the person returning from work, or you could be the person in the house, or you could both be returning from work, but both with the awareness that neither of you want to see that negative diatribe that could well spill from your mouth if you're still in post-work mood. Now, tip number 2, this one's a real good one. Let's say you have returned from work, and let's say for some reason you haven't been able to set it to seize it, and both of you have been unable to do that, and this ends up in a bit of an altercation, a bit of an argument. Well, you know that time towards the end of an argument when it's beginning to simmer and both of you are about to walk off in the opposite directions, somewhat unhappy with the other. That is, I've found, the perfect time to turn around, walk over to the other, and seek what I call, or seek what is, oxytocin. Now, what I mean by that is, if you go in, and bear in mind you have to learn when is the right time to do this, but if you go in that simmering phase at the end of an argument, and you hug the other person, and yes, let's go all the way, and kiss. But even if you just hug, the close contact, interaction with your partner immediately releases a brain neurochemical called oxytocin, the love chemical. And what's amazing is, and I've found this, and whatever thoughts you had up until that point of the other person, that immediate flow of oxytocin is so powerful, it deletes any of the negative neurochemicals and the thoughts. You hold on long enough. Sometimes you have to hold on a little bit longer. Hang on in there. And it's amazing what happens. Quite often you might turn to your partner and both of you will laugh. And you'll think how silly it was that you even got to that stage. What a ridiculous argument. But it not only helps to placate, it just helps to soothe everything up. And yes, sometimes I would imagine that even with that, the argument was so big, so severe, that even that doesn't necessarily do the whole trick, but it will absolutely dampen it down, I guarantee. So that is tip number 2. And tip number 3, this one's so simple, but I think many of us humans have lost the ability to do that. And some are better than others at doing this thing. But I find many people have lost the ability because we are finding it easier and easier to look through the world with selfish eyes. And that simple thing is this: learn the power of listening. Because let's say you have come home from work, you're having a conversation, and your partner is really wanting to tell you something that, get it off their chest. You, in your state, might be tired. You don't really want to hear the story. But if you fake it to make it, let's use that statement, because you don't have to fake it for very long. So what I find is we as humans have very, very simple tricks to tell the other human that we're talking to that we are listening. And the first one actually is the use of our eyes. If you look at their eyes, you widen yours slightly, in other words, show interest, and then make yourself listen. Don't think about when you might be able to step in and say your piece. Don't wait till the end of their sentence in order to speak, and certainly don't speak over them, at least not initially. And just through doing that for a few minutes, in other words, forcing yourself to listen, you'll find you will start listening. And I know it's such a simple tip, but I think so many people have lost the ability to listen that it's quite often that causes bigger issues in a relationship. So there we are. My 3 tips that I've found through doing them regularly really do help in a relationship. And I think, when you look at relationships nowadays, it's so easy, isn't it? For people to consider divorce. It's so easy to end the relationship. And I always think, there was a blooming good reason why you both got together in the first place. And sometimes you just need a little reminder with a bit of fun, a bit of listening, a bit of oxytocin. You need a reminder why you got together in the first place. Anyway, Winston on cue. Evolution of Dave signing off. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.